Did Lue Elizondo just say that AATIP engaged in CE5 initiatives? Did AATIP make contact with the visitors? This is amazing. Okay, before I get into it, please hit like, please subscribe, please share on social media. This is part 4 of a series that I call Parsing Lue, which is examining little snippets that Luis Elizondo has said in various interviews and seeing what he really had to say and what he meant by that. The interview he just gave with Engaging the Phenomenon is amazing and chock full of bombshells. I highly recommend you check it out in its entirety, and I'll provide a link below. And as I'm talking about it, please comment below and let me know what you think. Okay, let's get into it.
I almost forgot to ask this question. In the AATIP slides, there was something that came up, cognitive human interface. What did that mean to AATIP?
Well, I think you know what that means to AATIP. That's kind of your CE5 now, isn't it?
So was something like that, I guess, observed in all the studies and the cases?
James, I'm gonna take a Heisman pass on that.
Sure.
Because again, I'll let experts speak to that.
Sure. Is there anything you can say to that at all?
Well, I'm doing your interview, aren't I?
Wonderfully said. Okay, what about
for all those people out there who say Lue doesn't give CE5 any credence? Well, you've never asked.
I was gonna say this. I mean, cognitive human interface. That's just. I mean, we could just call that CHI instead of CE5, right? As unique cognitive human interface experiences. So that's almost like AATIP saying contact experiences. Fair. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I found these slides fascinating, and I don't know why more people are not talking about them. It says DoD has been involved in similar experiences in the past. I don't know if you're familiar with anything like that. Okay, enough of that. Sorry about that.
No, I apologize. Just
really interesting slide, I'll say. Anybody that knows AATIP slide 9, read in between the lines. There's no lines there, but if you read in between them, you can probably learn a lot.
In the early days, AATIP was looking at a lot of things. I think that's fair and accurate to say.
So Lue is asked about cognitive human interface and what that means. Is that the same thing as CE5? And his response to that is, well, I'm here, aren't I? And of course, James from Engaging the Phenomenon is very well known for being pro CE5. He has numerous videos about it. He's even begun a campaign, it seems like, to rebrand CE5 into a new name to get rid of the baggage of Stephen Greer. And that's an effort I totally support. It's weird how renaming something can have a lot of power. They renamed UFOs into U.A.Ps, and all of a sudden it's become a mainstream topic. So could the same thing be done for CE5? Could the mainstream UFO community embrace CE5 if it ditched the baggage of Stephen Greer? And it's such a shame that Greer has become such a liability, but he has nobody to blame but himself. I don't want to go off too much about Stephen Greer in this video, but this is a video about CE5, and he is the one that popularized CE5. Now, it, originated before his time. People have been reaching out to the stars and the beings there for a long time, but he is definitely the one that popularized that idea. I mean, hell, he invented the app for it. Now, personally, I have a lot of issues with Stephen Greer. I think that his attacks on Lue Elizondo and TTSA and all of that is unfounded and ridiculous. And his insistence that the visitors have never done anything wrong is categorically absurd, especially for somebody like him who should have done and certainly has done as much research into the phenomenon as he has. He is either lying or is so biased by his own predispositions that he cannot look at the evidence objectively. Either that, or, like I have said before, he is possibly an alien-human hybrid, whether he knows it or not. And I say that slightly jokingly, but not really. If you have looked into the alien-human hybrid issue, you know that that is a real thing. There is lots of evidence to support it. There are thousands of aliens and abductees that have spoken to that. I highly recommend the works of Bud Hopkins and David Jacobs. They are the leading experts on that issue, or they were. Bud passed away a few years ago, but he was a great researcher. Anyway, so Stephen Greer's insistence that the phenomenon is utterly harmless falls flat. That's not to say that the phenomenon is sinister or dark or that we should be worried about it. I'm not. I'm hopeful. I'm excited about making contact with the others and in changing civilization for the better. But I do want us to go into this with our eyes open, and we do need to be aware there is, a scary element to all of this. It's very likely that we're dealing with multiple races of being and multiple types of being. Some could be simply people from another world. Some could be from another dimension or time. And we'll get into the whole time thing in another video very quickly. So there could be a whole range of being, some with our best interest at heart and some not with our best interest at heart. And we have to be aware of that and look at things objectively, but in a positive, hopeful way, because I think that's the best way to approach it. And also it seems like it's the best way to make contact with the others, and which makes sense. Would you want to answer the invitation of somebody that hates you and is fearful of you? So, if you're doing CE5 protocols, it's, I think, a very good idea to just be very positive and hopeful and have love in your heart when you're doing that. And I am looking forward to starting some CE5 initiatives myself. Okay, enough about Stephen Greer. Let's go back to what Lue had to say. He had to say that, yes, AATIP looked into CE5, and he didn't call it CE5, but contact with the others, and that potentially they even tried to do that. I would love to know the full story on that. I hope we get some more details about that. It's interesting that he says AATIP was involved in CE5 and contact initiatives in general early in the program. Does that mean when they had proper funding, or does that mean when they were more connected to AATIP, the program that began at Skinwalker Ranch? I don't know if you know this, but AATIP is a program that began in another program called AATIP, and they investigated a wide range of things, all of the phenomena that happens at Skinwalker Ranch: portals, ghosts, cryptids. UFOs were the smallest portion of what they studied at the ranch. However, all of those strange, crazy things that AATIP investigated, and AATIP was the real X-Files, because, the X-Files on the show X-Files, they looked at a wider range of crazy activity. It was the monster of the week kind of stuff, and they had all sorts of different monsters, and that's what AATIP did. They investigated all these different things. It was the real life X-Files. Anyway, apparently that creeped some people out in the Pentagon, and they probably had a hard time getting funding, or who knows, maybe it went underground. But whatever, they created this splinter program called AATIP that solely focused on the military interactions with the phenomenon, sightings of these craft with radar data and other sensor data. In other words, the most easily corroborated and mainstream of these events. That turned out to be a very smart thing to do because it has allowed this public conversation. If they had started from the get-go talking about ghosts and monsters and portals, nobody would have listened. But it's very telling that Lue refuses to talk about it. If there was nothing to talk about, he would just say, yeah, no big deal, nothing happened, that's not a thing. But he did not say that. He said, I'll take a pass on that. He cannot answer questions about it because AATIP actively engaged in that topic. They did CE5 stuff or contact stuff. So obviously the big question is, Did they make contact? What resulted from that? I mean, this has my mind spinning. This is amazing. I wish we could get more information about this. This is one of the most fascinating things, if not the most fascinating thing that Lue has ever said. He said recently that yes, the government or some portion of the government is aware that these craft were made by non-humans, and now he is saying that AATIP actually engaged in some sort of contact initiative towards the others or the visitors. I'm leaning toward calling them the others now. That's what TTSA calls them, and not to be a TTSA partisan, but the visitors seems very limiting because that implies that we have been here longer than they have, that they are the ones visiting our planet, when, you know, for all we know, they have been here forever and we are the interlopers, or possibly we are their creations. Now, the other sounds a little bit more dramatic and a little bit more scary. Maybe that's my association with the TV show Lost, where the villains were the others. But in the TV show V, the miniseries, the alien villains were called the Visitors. So they both have a negative connotation in a way. There needs to be a new word, I think, that has no negative connotation. But for now, the Visitors or the others will have to do. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit like, please subscribe, share on social media, and it would be a big help to me if you would comment below and let me know what you think. Did AATIP make contact with the others, aka the visitors? What do you think? What do you think the results were of that? Are they still in contact? I am just blown away by this story. Okay, until next time, Cosmic Road out.